every dollar you put in after tax premiums, you get back tax-free. And you could add additional benefits like a waiver or premium. If you're going to be disabled after 6 months, they'll make payments for you. And it'll still build cash flow. Are you tired of paying interest to the bank instead of earning it for yourself on all of your major purchases? Would you like to use the same strategy that banks are using to boost their returns on the reserves while actually creating tax-favored earnings along the way? Or would you like the world's strongest financial institutions to then owe you a small fortune at the same time? And there's a hint there. It's not the banks that have the best financials. Liquidity is essential to actually creating stability in your financial foundations. And that means actually having access to quick and easy ways for money for any cash flow need. But most entrepreneurs simply just put their money in a bank and build liquidity. Instead, why not be your own bank and rig the game in your favor? Otherwise, you'll have to settle for pathetic interest rates that banks pay on your deposits and pay a much higher interest rate when you're borrowing money from them. And cash flow banking is the one tool that you can use to turn the tables. It allows you to protect your wealth, increase your dividends, and recapture all of the interest that you're losing to the banks in order to build your wealth in the first place. Plus, it's extremely liquid. And the strategy that I'm sharing with you uses a special type of permanent life insurance that's contractually actually guaranteed to actually put safety, liquidity, and growth components in your assets that we're talking about. Of course, these policies have to be designed properly so you actually have the maximum access to money in an event of an investment opportunity, business deal, or to pay off higher interest rate loans. How are you going to rig the game in your favor? It begins by automatically capturing wealth. You've got to pay yourself first, at least 15% of your income, and ideally 18%, with 50% going into your wealth capture account and 3% into a living wealthy account that just allows you to enjoy life along the way so it doesn't feel like you're dieting and scrimping and saving and budgeting. That's so constraining. Really, as you automatically capture wealth, I'm going to show you how you can build your net worth in addition to also keeping that liquidity. And that's going to give you a huge advantage. And you'll be able to store your money at rates that are 400 to 800 times higher than some of the savings accounts, even have tax advantages and benefits incorporated into that. Plus, there's plenty of opportunities over your lifetime that you're going to be able to capitalize on because of this. Because tons of people, and I've been there myself, have these opportunities that come up, but because the market is down and they haven't structured things correctly, they don't have the liquidity, capitalize, and pounce when that opportunity comes about. Now, personally, I started doing this when I was 21. I started with simply a few $100 a month. I was paying myself first when I was getting my first few paychecks working as a general manager. I set up a completely separate account, which I highly, highly recommend you do. Call it your wealth capture account. It could be a regular banking institution. It could be a savings account, maybe a money market account, a checking account, just easy to put money in and take money out, but preventing a lot of the commingling of having all of your assets in your business account or your personal account. Now, this is earmarking and creating more of an elegant check register of the money you're going to kind of put to your future and allocate towards investments or just have overall peace of mind in savings. I admit just sitting money there in your savings account obviously sucks. How do we turn that account into something that's going to be capturing wealth and really a wealth creation tool over time? Personally, I like cash flow banking, which is overfunded whole life insurance specifically. What I mean by overfunded, not the baseline commissionable premium, but a heavy cash flow that doesn't really pay your agents very much and maybe sometimes nothing. So what we're trying to do here is mimic a product called private placement life insurance. By overfunding, you're going to reduce the commissions. You're going to increase your cash. And by having cash inside of this, it's going to give you a ton of benefits. First off, if the market goes down, you're already saved. You're locked in. You have a minimum guaranteed interest rate. From a tax advantage standpoint, it's FIFO, or meaning first dollars in are the first dollars you can take out, meaning every dollar you put in after tax premiums, you get back tax-free. And you could add additional benefits like a waiver or premium. If you're going to be disabled after 6 months, they'll make payments for you. It'll still build cash flow, or something called an accelerated benefit rider, which says you could tap into the death benefit while you're alive if you ever qualify for a nursing care or nursing home later in life. There's guaranteed interest rates that you now can earn. And once dividends have been paid, that becomes your guaranteed interest. It's liquid enough that you can access this money as early as maybe 48 hours when you're looking to invest, but maybe as long as 72 hours with some investments. But it's also protected from liability and bankruptcy. Actually, in 43 states in the US, it's fully protected, and it's partially protected in 7 other states. Let me give examples of why it's important to get this in place. It's not always about getting just the overfunded whole life in the first place. It's actually about getting your protection handled first, which might be, term insurance that can convert to whole life. But we've had a client named Brian, and he actually had, sad to say, just a mild heart attack, but he already had a policy. It was overfunded. And before we could actually set this up, he was doing a traditional 401k. And by getting this policy in place, they had a cash flow insurance that had cash value. And then when that tragedy struck, it really brought him just true peace of mind. It allowed him to drop his term insurance so that money started to come into his life, gave him a lot of flexibility with something called a paid up addition, which is known as a way to overfund pieces of that policy. But he just loved how fast this grows with the option because he can put more money into it and has windfall money. And he had locked into this policy a health structure. Even though he had a mild heart attack, he didn't raise his rates because once it's set, it's set. And he started this in 2008. And this means that he didn't have to participate in the market and the downturn that we all went through the next 3 years. This is the exciting thing. And here's a bit of a crash course. There's other things that you could do here. I got the idea from something called a COLI or a BOLI, or what we call a non-qualified deferred comp. What COLI stands for, it's COLI, corporate-owned life insurance, and BOLI is bank-owned life insurance. And non-qualified deferred comp was something that actually came about in the 1950s. I know that GE used to use it where they would say, hey, why don't we take out our key executives and buy them a permanent insurance plan with cash value? Then when they retire, we can use that cash value to supplement or even pay for the retirement pensions. And when they die, the death benefit will come back to the corporations as a tax-free asset that will replace the cost of all the funding they were doing for their employees. It was really cool because they had a cash value and a death benefit kind of component. For example, we had a client named Clark, and when he started working with us, it was the first 6 years of his entrepreneurial life, and he had no losses because he'd really used the cash flow banking system as the centerpiece. He used it to build and keep his wealth and have a wealth storage system, a place that he could tap into if the right opportunities of maybe buying another practice, or if there was a building that came up for sale where he could put a new practice in. He could put the down payment from his cash flow banking policy in place and use that to buy these buildings and put things in place that he's looking at from a cash or investment standpoint. And this is really the foundation because it got so much better guaranteed structure and clarity for the entrepreneurs and investors that we work with. When other opportunities do come up, they know what they have and they'll be available to support themselves. It's a great way to capture wealth at the same time. It's also going to boost, your savings accounts and really put you in a position where you can recover all these costs, have a premium long-term insurance care, disability, insurance costs, and tax benefits. It's just a great tool that's going to put you in the right spot to recover cash and build long-term peace of mind. I hope this crash course has inspired you to see how you can make budgeting not suck. For more on that, you can get our Budgeting Sucks book. The link is provided for you below so you can really start breaking the game in your favor. Thanks for watching. Hit subscribe. Don't miss out on a single Wealth Factory tip like this next one with proven ways to build your wealth.